G'day and welcome back to my channel. Look at the junk. Yes, this is the IMAI 160 scale junk and I have been doing a lot of work to it. Those sails are just dry fit. That's just so we get the full effect of our factual video. There we go, everything's falling down and breaking. But I have been very busy with this junk and there are a lot of stuff happening. Lots of stuff happening. We have anchors at the front, there's bamboo, there's a thing at the back, there's little cannons in there, there's little cannons hiding in the back there. I have been really busy getting lots of things done for this. I've even got some paint on the stand. And the sails, yeah, I'm going to fess up about a problem there with the sails. Yes, remember this? I've actually added a little more red than last time. Just another little bit of dry brushing that's made them a bit redder than they were. So, yeah, it's only subtle, but now they pretty well exactly match the red that I've used for those little canvas tops there on the deck fittings. So pretty happy with all that. And of course, if you've missed it, there's a whole lot of videos showing how I did all the effects, like the wood effect on the decks, all these little sort of bamboo sort of tricks to get things looking weathered and washed and all the rest of it. They are all in previous videos and there'll be a link to that at the end of this video. But what we need to do now is get on with this video and I will show you all the things I've done to get it to this stage. Let's get on with it. Roll the music. Alright, confession time. When I painted the sails for the last video, I didn't have time to do both sides. I needed to get the video out. It was already a day late, so I cheated and I only painted the sails on the starboard side. The port side, yeah, they haven't been painted. So I'm busy doing that now. As you can see, there's still the Lello, Stein Res, but there's a lot less finicky detail, whereas these ones had a lot of, all the ribs had to be done, a whole lot of work. The sails on this side only need the top and the bottom rib done, and then it's just the ends, and that's it. So there's not a lot to worry about. And then I can just go ahead and splash all my red all over the top there. So I'll get on with that, and I'll make a whole set of red sails for the port side. I've put the sort of custom mix I did last time, the wine colour on. I thought maybe I could just skip that and go straight to the lighter red colour that I sort of dry brushed over, but it doesn't really work. It's the layers of paint that build up, that make the colour that I have on this side, right? So to get that, you can't just go straight to it. It is all about the layering and the translucency of colours. So yeah, I did try it on the small one, didn't work. So I went back to, okay, put down the base colour, which was this dark winey one. All right, and we know that's not going to be the final one. And then I have already mixed up the red there to dry brush. It's not bright red, it of course is a reddy sort of slight oxide. Yeah, it's this one. Right? So it's redder than that, but it's still not exactly red. Now, one trick is, now that the wine colour and also my washes, my wood washes dried, I need to put the dark umber on, okay, the dark umber. It's kind of funny that you do it all in this order, but it does work. If you change your order, I found it doesn't work. So we need to put our wash on now, okay, which goes quite liberally. And it also goes in all the gaps, right? Because you need a little bit here and here. So all the way through, slop it on, doesn't matter, because I'm dry brushing over the top of this. So this umber will darken those areas, but then when I dry brush over the top with the red, it'll all smooth out. It all comes out in the wash mist pad. Yeah, it does. So on with my umber, burnt umber. I keep calling it dark umber. I even called it black umber in the last video. It's an umber, okay? Yes. Ricky, have you got my umber? All right. If I've put too much on, it's not a problem, because the beauty about these life colour pigments is they'll remove. There's a remover. So you can actually go with the remover, go through and feather out and get it down to what you want again. So you can actually build them up, take them down a number of times. It's rather magical. All right, let all that dry. I'm going to go make a sandwich. When I come back, I'll dry brush on the red. You can see the wash just disappears into there. And now we have the easiest job in the world. I've already done this one. See, that's red. Same colours on that side, but sort of different. I only have to dry brush the bumpy bits, really. So getting some of this on here, not much. It's probably a bit wet, so I'll just get these guys primed. Now that it's a bit drier, I'll just start feathering that in. Talk amongst yourselves. Smoke them if you got them. As easy as that. I'll touch that up and do a slightly better job, but you can see it's already starting to work. These edges here, I'll feather those in like we have done all the way along the line. All the other work I've been doing. See? This is one of the cases where you just stay between the lines. The lines are the low bits, so it's pretty easy. You're only doing the top bits. Easy as that. Alright, I'll get these finished and then my sails are red on both sides. There we have it. That's the port side, that's the starboard side. Now a lot of people have been complaining online saying they're too shiny. It's all about lighting. Watch what happens. Well, depending on how you light it, depending on where the light source is coming from and how reflective it is, they will look shiny or they will look dull. And these being outwards, right, these things stick out. These are convex, all right? These ones are concave. Being concave, these ones tend to not have so many reflections, right? Depends, you can get at the angle and you can get a whole lot of reflections. Often when I've taken the photographs, I've been very careful as to watch the lights to not get that effect, but try and get more of that effect, right? And the same here, you know, you can get full on, you know, cartoon, and then you can dull it right back to there. So it's a matter of lighting it. So those of you who have seen my quick photos online, that's why. It's shiny sometimes, other times it's flat. The paint is quite matte and flat, right? There's no gloss on it at all. But it's just the nature of plastic. If these were cloth, they diffuse a bit more, right? There'd be holes in there, tiny micro holes. But there you go. Let's move on from that, and it is time to tie on the wankers and get to the bum and whack on some cannons. Now the anchors go at the front here, they go on a little windlass here and you sort of tie them off. It's all sort of shown in the instructions. And I've attached, they say, a 10cm piece of cordage, and the cordage they supply is actually quite nice. It's already coloured jute, so that's quite rather good. The anchors I've painted black, and now I'm just going to rub a little bit of gunmetal on them. Just dry brush it on. It does the trick. So it's an old trick. It's an oldie but a goodie. And I don't need much. I'll just pop some on here with a toothpick because I'm going to basically get rid of most of it, right? You just don't want any paint. Right, so once you've got nothing coming out of there, so most people know this, then you can just give the thing a bit of a rub, and no longer does that look like it's just flat black. It starts to get little highlights. Right? Anything that pops up, any edges, just get a little thing. Now we could make these rusty, we could do all kinds of things, but honestly I'm not going to bother for this one. We'll just pretend they just a nice new set of anchors for them. So I don't know if that shows. See, it's got a little bit of a thing happening. Just picks up any relief on there, breaks it up, because that one's just flat black, this one. And then this one has got just a little bit, from some angles you get a bit of shininess. Admittedly the paint's not that wet, it's dry brushed on, but still you get an effect. So it breaks it up, see? And you need tiniest amount, monicums. Like, there's literally no real paint, not like when I was doing the sails, when that was my wet dry brush. Here, you know, if you stroked it on my finger, there's nothing. It only works if it hits something. They just get a little bit of shininess to them in places, and it just breaks it up from being flat black. All right, let's attach these. The instructions say cut 10 centimetres. I've been a bit liberal with that, only because I've done the first one and thought, gee, you could do with a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is, we'll do the middle one. This would probably be easy to do if it's not on the model, and you could do that, but I've been sort of setting parts in place to make sure that canopy is in the correct spot. Don't glue this top little canopy piece on there until you've actually put the mast in, because it has a peculiar sort of place. It's not where you think. It's slightly off the edge, so it's best to actually only glue that when you've got the mast in. So I want it over the top, so I'm going to hide this bit at the back. So bit of wibbly wobbly. I've got stuff on my thing. So fat fingers, through you go. I think with all the rigging I do, I'd know how to do this. And okay, and to make it stick in place, I'm going to use a bit of white wood glue. You could use super glue, I suppose, but super glue seems to leave a little bit of that sort of residue and looks kind of horrible, whereas the white wood glue would just disappear and it's colourless, so it really doesn't matter too much. So holding it right by the end, I can pull that fairly tight, cut that bit off later. Okay, and also because the glue's on there, I've got time to do this. If I make a mistake, I can fix it up. If you super glue it, you're kind of going to end up with what you end up with. There's no room for error. So they've got about 4 winds, I think, in the diagram. It doesn't really matter, I mean, you just do whatever seems to fit, whatever looks good. We'll go for 4 because I've got a bit more cordage this time. So there we go. It's probably not the neatest, but again, because I've got white wood glue on there, and I can add a bit more glue at the end. Tiny bit more glue on the end to try and convince this to sort of all hold to shape. I'll be cutting that bit off later. So ideally you're trying to make them all bunch up so it looks nice and neat, but it's not cooperating. These things never work on camera. There we are, and it should go down the middle. And to hold it all in place, I'm just going to use one of these little forceps clampy things, and that'll just add a bit of pull on that so it glues nice and tight, won't be all floppy. Nothing worse than having a wanker floppy. Alright, then what you've got to do, and I could do it on this one, is you've got to attach actually one of these anchors. Now the instructions show you putting the anchors that way, so literally upside down to the way they're going to fall in the water, but maybe that's the idea, is you then flick them off, they fall down and away they go. There's 2 holes in them, a hole here and a hole here, but I think they attach that hole. Interestingly, the box art shows them sitting that way. They're actually just tied up like that and hanging that way. But I'll go with the instructions because I've only got so much string. And that does seem to work, so we'll put that through there. And again, we can make a big, honestly I think you need about 15 centimetres. It's just too fiddly. Or you tie your anchor to it before you even start. Well, that was very frustrating. Tying the anchor off at that end and trying to put it in upside down, well, it's just too hard. That's with a 10 centimetre length. It just doesn't work. But if you go the opposite way, use that top hole they've got, you run it through there, and then you just run it out of the bottom one, right? You've got plenty to play with. And then you pull it tight and it sits in place. So you can do that. Then you just glue off the bottom one and cut it loose. No knots. So if you want to stick to what they suggest, that having them upside down, and they do kind of look nice upside down actually, because when they hang they look a bit sort of messy. So I'm going to do that with both of them now. So through the top hole, run it down along the back of the anchor, well, whichever side you like, and through the bottom hole, right? and then pop it in place and glue that, probably super glue that so you can get the tension. Super glue that, and then once that's set, because it's in that little hole, you're done. Silly wankers. I did finally get those anchors sitting in place, but it wasn't exactly the most fun job, I must say. It was more frustrating than it should have been. And really, they say 10 centimetres, give yourself 20 or even 30 centimetres. As much string as you can. In fact, it might be worth tying the anchors off first and then looping them around the little spindle there. Now, to cheer myself up, I put some bamboo on the side here. Yep. I just painted that up previously. That's just the yellow Steiner res with the wood deck shadow, right? And then to highlight where the little sort of bumpy bits are, the little growth rings or whatever they are in bamboo, I use my wood deck darkener, you know, that one. Oh dear, it's early Sunday morning here, my brain's away. I splashed a bit of paint on the stand, but it needs a bit of touching up, and it's got fingerprints on it, but it's made it less sort of prominent and tied it in better with the model, so that's good. What I want to turn my attention to now is the stern. Now I have already added the cannon there, and that's one that I dry brushed. It'd been painted the same matte black and then dry brush, so that's good. And these two little cannons, they're sitting here quietly. They're on a little board, which I think kind of slides in and out on that suspended platform. I think that's kind of how it works. I think it's the reason for the whole thing. So I think that kind of goes in there, you know, when you're sailing and you flip up this thing, because we're going to attach cordage here. It's the next bit of rigging. And we've also got davits here. They're just dry fit for the moment. Now, I'm trying to figure out from the diagrams, yes, there's cordage that comes up here, but where does it go? I think it goes over here to these little spindles, right? And they're winches. So I think they've got little arms on the side, winches. But they would also go to these and drop down to the ship's boat, okay? Now, you know, here's an interesting thing. You know this is a ship and you know this is a boat. You know why? Because apparently boats go on ships, but ships do not go on boats. That's how you figure it out. So is it a ship? Is it a boat? Well, can you put a boat on it? If you can put a boat on it, it's a ship. If you can't, it's a boat. Apparently that's the one that I learned. So this is a ship, this junk. So yeah, I don't know. I like those guys out. They kind of look more impressive when they're out. But then your boat is going to hang from these davits. So I think one thing fouls with the other. I have to see how we go there. I'll leave gluing those in to the last minute. So I'm going to pop those spindles out. I had the foresight to realise that there may be some confunglery needing to be done here. Yes, that's a technical term. So I didn't glue those in. So I can now wind as much of that thread around them as I like. And I have plenty to play with to decide what I'm going to rig it to. Probably the easiest will be to run it out and put it onto this little platform. That is the easiest. The correct way is it should also go, there should be cordage that goes to the davits, right? And then they have little pulleys in them at the end. Right, they have a little sort of pulley system in there. So we'll see. Let's rig this up. Last thing to rig here is that ship's boat, and it's a bit unusual. It's very different to what I'm used to. I mean, I was going to try and have it lower so we could actually see those cannons, but checking the rigging and looking at diagrams and everything, it sits up hard against the davits, which is unusual for me. It also you wrap around. Let me show you, because I've just dummied this up here. Is you just wrap around the hull, at least sort of 5 winds, and then you basically have a triangle rig there that holds that in place. Now what I've added on this side is I've also added a little loop where the rope would end, because the diagrams just show it ending, but it's kind of absurd, you know. Nothing on a ship just kind of ends. I mean, everything's tied and locked. If it's not going to move from that point, sure, but at some other point you're going to pull on the rope, right? And that rope then will lash to something or spin around something, but it always has a bit extra, and that bit extra, usually the sailor would loop up and secure. So that when you come to sort of take this down, say, you'd have that loop, you'd loosen it, you'd undo the binding, and boom, your boat would fall down. So yeah, ropes are not exact lengths, and they don't just sit there and get glued on a real ship. No, so I'm going to make a little loop. I'm going to add it onto there, but what I'll do is I'll actually add the loop as a second piece. For the moment, I will just tie this off so it sits there. And there's the final result. It's lashed on there. Can't really see those. Oh, they are there back there. Can kind of see the cannons. There they are. So that's all done. I've done a little more work on my stand. Put some gold on the junk lettering, so that's going to look kind of pretty. But what I need to do next is the sails and rig them in place. Well, that is a big job, and the rigging again is a bit unfamiliar to me, so it's taken me this long just to basically lash up the anchors and put some bamboo on and lash that to there, because it's all unfamiliar rigging. So doing the sails, we'll have to wait until next time. So hope you've enjoyed the video so far, and look, if you really are enjoying these, by all means please not tie and lash. Yeah, push those buttons, push the buttons, they do something. You get yourself all knotted up in it. And if you want to really help me out, buy me a curry. That would be fantastic. Yep. But that's we're going to leave it for the moment. As you can see, those bamboo poles really making that come alive. But these are sort of like final details, just going on, finishing everything off, adding those little sort of things. There are a whole lot of machine guns that apparently go all the way around on the rails here, on the gunnels. But they advise you not to put those onto your rigged sails. And it's probably a good idea, because knowing me, I knock most things off. So we'll be doing all that in the next video for the junk. Sails lifted, rigged or hoisted, and we'll put the machine guns on. That's it for now. So it's goodbye from Australia, and it's hooroo from Harry Houdini.